All right, so this is a soft open. We're making a lot of changes in the show. So Thursdays, theoretically, I'm going to do a pop culture oriented story, although this is also a labor story. That's why we call it a soft open. So Disney is probably the most visible and glaring example of a pink washing company, of a company that uses LGBTQ issues to cover up its corporate practices. I think Disney, is it the most evil company? No, they're not an oil manufacturer, but they're very visible, particularly because Bob Iger, their current CEO, went on a buying spree and bought up all of these companies that are really storehouses of our most beloved cultural myths, like Star Wars, like the Pixar library, like Marvel. And then they put this agenda into it, while at the same time, very hypocritically behind the scenes, abusing their workers. So there's a good example of a Disney kind of a culture war story. Disney exec cops to advancing gay agenda by adding queerness to shows. This was a video that leaked of one of their creative directors talking about how they were subverting all the Disney cartoons by putting tacit gay content into it. Um, they also really revolutionized the idea of fan baiting as a method of selling their products, where you accuse your fans of being racist ahead of the show ever airing in order to gin up the kinds of articles that'll get people screaming on social media about the show. So they accused people of being racist towards a black actress in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. And usually this is deployed in cases where the show or the movie is bad in order to deflect attention from that. And so that you can say when people call it bad, it's not bad, you're a racist, you're a sexist. Kathleen Kennedy several times attacked male Star Wars fans. Now, at this point, it looks like the ESG money is drying up because this was a big Disney story this week. They cut the trans storyline from Pixar's Win or Lose series, and they made the statement many parents would prefer to discuss certain subjects on their own terms. Oh, you don't say. You don't say. But we're not going to get into that. That's pretty much all there is to that. But what does Disney really do? What do they do? They're fighting these cultural battles and remaking Mulan into a girl boss and empowering women and championing diversity and putting in DEI departments and setting percentages of diversity they have to have in their workforce. Wow, what a noble company. Oh, Disney reaches $233 million settlement in minimum wage lawsuit. That's what all that is about. That's what all that is about. They want you talking about that so you don't look at what the company actually does, what the company actually is, what it actually does to its workers. And I can tell you, just being from the entertainment industry, I've heard this my entire life, that Disney was one of the worst companies to work for.
Yep.
Everybody in entertainment knows that on
Yep.
any level. Whether you're an actor, I knew actors who worked at the theme parks. I knew people who worked at the studios. I never heard anyone say a good thing about working for Disney. After a 5-year legal battle over claims of dodging minimum wage requirements, Disney will pay $233 million to settle a class action representing more than 50,000 underpaid Disneyland workers. In a statement, Randy Rennick, a lawyer representing the employees, said, quote, "This settlement will put significant awards in the hands of those workers and positively impact their lives, as well as the health and well-being of their families." Anaheim voters' passage in 2018 of Measure L, which forced hospitality businesses that receive tax rebates to increase the minimum wage to $15 an hour, with bumps tied to inflation, sparked the lawsuit. After the initiative was approved, Disney moved to end $267 million in subsidies for a luxury hotel to evade the mandate. Josh D'Amaro, chairman of Disney Parks, also called to end a decades-long moratorium on entertainment taxes. Workers filed a proposed class action in Orange County's Superior Court, pointing to a series of deals with Anaheim in 1996, under which over $200 million in tax rebates were granted to Disney to help finance the construction of California Adventure and a parking garage. The 5 workers who filed the lawsuit earned between $12 to $14.25 per hour working at the resort, according to the complaint. Disney maintained it's not covered by Measure L. It argued that the word rebate, as defined in the ordinance, is limited to the return of taxes paid by residents. The court sided with the entertainment giant, finding that it doesn't enjoy a city subsidy. Last year, a state appeals court reversed the decision. A 3-judge panel of California's 4th District Court of Appeal, citing employee protections in the measure, concluded that the 1996 agreements constitute subsidies since they afford Disney the right to receive a return of taxes. The state Supreme Court declined to review the case. Disney and lawyers representing the workers on Friday moved for the court to approve the deal. A judge will consider the agreement at a hearing next month. In a statement, a Disneyland spokesperson said that all cast members, quote, make at least the Measure L requirement of $19.99 per hour, and in fact, 95% of them make more. She added, we are pleased that this matter is nearing resolution. In July, Disney negotiated an agreement with Master Services, Disneyland's largest union, representing more than 13,000 cast members who work in attractions, custodial, and merchandise, that raised base pay to $24 an hour. A 2018 survey from Occidental College and Economic Roundtable found that Disneyland employees reported high instances of homelessness, food insecurity, and low wages. Nearly 75% of respondents said they don't earn enough money to pay for basic expenses, with 10% saying that they've recently been homeless or didn't have a place of their own to sleep. More than 85% of union workers earn less than $15 per hour, it concluded.
Wow.
Now, if you remember, that's why Goofy's stinking a little bit over there.
Yeah.
Sleeping in his car, then throwing on the mascot suit, doesn't have a place to shower.
And this is Disneyland, not Disney World. So this is California. This is Los
California,
Angeles.
Liberal California.
Yeah.
Liberal.
That's a hypocrisy. It's also a fucking fortune to live in LA. Anywhere near Anaheim.
Orange County. Disneyland's in Orange County.
Yep.
Yes, this is the kind of thing that Disney was really known for by anyone who really knew what their labor practices were like. But what has the public been arguing about? How bad the Star Wars movies are, how Rey is a Mary Sue. And I'll give some aid and comfort to my co-host here. I will say, as somebody who consumes a lot of nerdy content about film and games and such, they never talk about this shit. They never talk about this. All of the stories this week, and this is part of why I wanted to cover this, those channels were all over them pulling that trans storyline out of the Pixar cartoon. I haven't seen any of them headline this triumph for the workers.
I just want to do some basic math before we move on. So if they're making less than $15 an hour to work in Orange County, you can't live.
Of course they're homeless.
Right. You can't
How
live.
the hell would you live there on that?
Right. I mean, you can't live in Orange County on that. That's obviously not feasible. If you live anywhere in commuting distance, you're still paying a fortune to live. I mean, Los Angeles
and with
is
the
a
gas prices
fortune now.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the other part of it. So you can't live close to the park if you're making less than $15 an hour. That's not possible. So you have to live far enough out to the point where you have a significant commute in. What are gas prices in California? What, $6 a gallon? You're talking about it probably costs you $20 in gas to get to and from work, especially if you count the traffic and all the idling, and that burns gas too. So you're talking about burning over an hour's of your worth of your salary on the gas getting there and back. That's what that means.
You're talking about a company so evil that they tried to get out of a lawsuit where a woman died of an allergic reaction to food after being assured. She repeatedly asked. I can't remember if it was shellfish. I think it was shellfish. There's none, or it might have been a nut. There's none of that in here. No, definitely, ma'am. Definitely none of that in there. They tried to get out of it by claiming that because she had signed a Disney Plus contract, she was not allowed to sue the company going forward. That is how evil Disney is. This is the same company that wants to come out and beat its breast about the racist and sexist fans. That's why they do it. That is why they do it, so that you don't talk about this. And frankly, it works on most of these channels that cover Disney because they do not cover this. I never saw any of those channels cover this. Article is going to mention it coming up, that Disney was being sued by women for pay discrimination. The company that really, I think the term girl boss was invented for the Disney formula of the flawless woman hero.
Right.
But how are they actually treating their female employees?
Exactly.
So the settlement was reached after Disney last month agreed to pay $43.25 million to settle a class action from roughly 9,000 female employees in California who accused the company of pay discrimination. Under the deal, Disney will retain experts to address significant pay differences using a model commissioned by lawyers representing the women. So, all right, some good news, and I would say that's the more significant story. I'm happy to see them take the trans storyline out of a cartoon. I do think, as they said, as anyone could have told them, parents would prefer to engage with their own children about those subjects as they see fit. They don't need Disney to decide what their children's attitudes need to be about that and at what age it's appropriate for them to learn that.
Yeah, it's a pretty intense thing to shoehorn into a kid's movie.
Well, they've been doing this for years, and this is where all of this. So I don't dismiss that. I've talked about it a lot myself. But this is what all of that is meant to obscure. This is a company that has been notorious for decades for brutalizing its workers, not just in the parks. One of the reasons that their movies look like shit now is because they're so chintzy about what they want to pay animators. Right. They're notoriously brutal on expecting enormous amounts of output for really minimal pay. So the animation studios that win these contracts, they do the best they can with what they can do after having to lowball it enough to get the contract with Disney.
Right. And that's one of the things they were always known for, is just putting a superior product up on the screen. Whether you liked them, didn't like them, you couldn't take it away. I mean, those, even like the newer movies, like the Toy Stories and the Monsters Inc. and the Finding Nemos, I mean, those are just great movies. Inside Out, the first one, I haven't seen the second one, is just a brilliant movie.
Second one was supposed to be good.
Yeah. Did you ever see the first one? Oh, you got to see the first one. The first one is actually brilliant.
I only know from the geeks talking about it that the second one was good.
Okay. Well, I'm sure the second one is good. And the first one was brilliant, like an actually brilliant movie. But then going back, I mean, Snow White, that's a work of art. Now, obviously, we know this one's going to be a million times better. But, you know, the first Snow White was a work of art. It was. And so they've always put a great product up on the screen. And now you can see even that's starting to dwindle because they've just become even more greedy than they've always been.
That's it. It's gotten to the point. It's almost a metaphor for America. Like, ultimately, their greed got so out of hand that it's destroying the very product that they were once, love it or hate it, masters of creating.
Right. You could never take that away from them, that they put a great product out. And even the parks, even that, like, it was always a fortune to go to the parks, but like it was a great experience to go to a Disneyland park.
Well,
I
that's
haven't
another
been
that's
since
another
then.
thing. They've raised it to the point
Right.
that now it's killing business because
Right.
families can't afford it. It's $5,000 to go to the park for a weekend. Who can
Yeah.
afford that?
Yeah. Who the fuck can afford that? Yeah. Yeah. It's just crazy. And you don't get breaks. Like I would ask, like, so when you work at the park, do you guys get like passes to like for family to come in discounted? No, no, nothing.
Yep.
No perks for anybody. No, nothing. Yeah. Just pretty brutal. Pretty brutal.
Please clap.